Maybe we can start simply. Can you introduce yourself, Lucy, and tell us a bit about what you are building?
Sure. Hey, folks. So my name is Gauthier. So just a fun fact, we've been knowing Guillaume and I for each other for like a long time, almost 20 years now. Same university, and then we've been following each other at jobs. So there's that. So on my end, yeah, I'm a software engineer. I started as a front end, back end, and I did infrastructure. I became an SRE. I've been doing open source, so I've seen it all. Also became a manager, small teams, big organizations, and yeah, going back to Lucy. So I came back to being a founding engineer because it's a startup where the fun is. And then yeah, it's been it feels like years already, but it's been only 6 months. And so Lucy is a preventive healthcare company. So basically, what we do is like based on a blood work at first, we're gonna get your biomarkers, and then we're gonna analyze them, and using AI, we're gonna make sense of it and give you information so you can adapt your longevity and yeah, basically live longer and just feel better overall. So there's tons of stuff to say about that. It's a whole business, and knowing about health in France and how it's regulated, it's a pain point when you add AI. So here we go.
Yeah, let's talk about this. So today, what are the Lucy's key objectives in terms of business, team, your technical challenges that are becoming harder with the Lucy's growth?
So the first part is we want to make like preventive healthcare not just affordable because it's a hard topic in France for people, but we want to be widely adopted. That means that we want everyone to be able to access this as much as possible. So we are targeting a few personas right now, but the goal is to expand to anyone really. At first, it was like people in the longevity space, people in the biohacking space, and then we've been targeting more folks, especially women, because hormones. Like, it's important to know about how you can do things better. And so the goal is to expand this with more folks, more demographics, more age ranges, whatever that is, right? So we're operating in France today. We've been operating for 3 months now, also in the UK and Republic of Ireland, and we're willing to expand even further. So there's more coming, obviously, but that's the main goal: expand as much as possible, and get more customers. Because we get more customers, we get more data, and because it's AI, then we can improve the way we do our protocols. Once you get your results, then we can accompany you even better.
Okay, interesting. So talking about that scale of that company, when you were moving from the first pilot, the first version of the application, to a global care ecosystem, what was the biggest security wall you hit?
So one thing, just to make it clear for everyone. So we're not a medical device, or we'd like to be at some point, but we cannot be diagnosing disease or whatever. We can only assume there's something, and then you need to see your doctor. So now, talking about that, that's obviously a wall. We cannot diagnose people. We cannot have data leaks, obviously, not because it's how should I say that? Not because it's France, but also because it's critical for the business. We need to have trust from our users. We need to build this trust. We need to keep it. We're not just tech bros doing an app that's actually working. We're willing to change the game, being from reactive, so I'm feeling bad, I need to see the doctor, to actually seeing people before then adjusting my life or like my lifestyle, so I feel better over time. So now talking about security rules, we need to be strict about access. We need to be strict about how AI is consuming data, because sure, AI is using some of the data, but there's a reason we're actually going through all the audits we're going through right now. There's a reason we're actually making sure the because we chat about AI, the models that we use and the companies that we work with are actually not in Europe, but the models are hosted in Europe, and we don't have data retention, basically. So that's like the security rules, making sure the PII, PHI stays in Europe. Um, very specifically, and then how we actually handle this data over time, because we're only going to get more data, so we're going to become a data company. And so making sure that we can deploy safely, that we can have the right access at the right time, we can track things, that's going to be key for us.
Okay. So today, how do you standardize that security, or do you check there is no drift in your process? And last question, how do you scale? What does it mean for your stack to scale about that company?
We'll keep the last one for after,
Yeah.
obviously, but
Yeah.
the way we standardize security is, well, at first it's automation. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel. We're trying to leverage what's existing already. So Kubernetes in this case, because we intend to be cloud agnostic. So Kubernetes is a good platform to do that. So that's also a reason we've been working with Qovery. I'm not going to make the marketing part of this, but like that's the reason we've been talking with Qovery, because we need to ship fast and efficiently. We don't want to care about all the platform and DevOps stuff at first. That's the main purpose of like a startup, is like, starting and scaling. So automation is going to be key. So that's the reason we're on Kubernetes. And then obviously, there's going to be like all the tooling around it, all the Terraform, all the Tailscale, whatever. But the approach we're taking is zero trust. So we do not want to have static credentials around. So we want to leverage what's existing. So if we're on the cloud, we're using, in this case, AWS, we're just going to use what's available. We use Tailscale, for example. So we've been simplifying the stack over time to focus on, we know who's getting access to which data and how. And so not to track it, but to make sure the people who gets access actually have a business need for it. It's not just like a classic VPN, for example. And so we kind of get this intent about zero trust at first. And we apply it everywhere. So there's obviously we need to restrict at first who gets access, but we're not trying to prevent our own engineers, for example, our own teams to get access to data. We need it to run the business, but it's a matter of, do you need to get access to everything, or do you need to get access to only a specific subset of it? And so it's a massive difference, because usually you do this when you're like a Series C, Series D, Series E, for example, when you're approaching IPO, because the audits actually require you to do it. But we're trying to implement the control. We're trying to get through all the audits right now, because it forces us to adopt this mentality, especially because we're doing AI. And so we are becoming an AI company. It's not just a myth, it's happening. And we're trying to be very smart and very careful about it. And I know I'm going to anticipate some questions, but I would absolutely prefer to be down, like the platform to be down for a whole week, than to have like a data leak or unwanted access. So we're investing a lot of time and money on security.
Okay. You say that you prefer to have an application down for a week, but in your industry, downtime is just a loss of revenue. It's also a loss of influence or trust. How could you mitigate that risk, and what do you put in place for that?
Yeah, so obviously we don't want to be down, but assuming there is a choice to make, yeah, I'd rather be down. Now, speaking of that, because of, like, I would say, some of the experiences that we have, like on the engineering side, some of the businesses we've been working at and working through, we know how to develop a platform, we know how to scale it, and we know the culprits when they appear. And so in this case, it's we're never going to become a Facebook in terms of scale, like the request per minute and stuff. Our pattern is pretty much, we get visits, obviously, but you don't get to connect to Lucy every day. You don't get to connect to Lucy every week. Sometimes it's a protocol, it's an action that you get. It's going to change, because we want people to interact better with their data, but it's not going to be like, oh, I'm scrolling through X or through Instagram or whatever. And so it's like tons of requests happening at the same time. So we're scaling the app accordingly. The way it was built at first and the way it's becoming is obviously like, microservices. And so we can scale each of them independently. but we're trying to be smart. If we don't need to do something custom, then we're going to use the cloud to do it. And yeah, use the right tools for the right things, assuming we can do it. And, I'm knocking on wood right now, but that's basically how we want to do it. So using solutions that can do it for us, and like Qovery, this kind of thing. Like usually I would, as an infra person, create my infrastructure, and then I would add auto scaling, I would add all the metrics, all the observability. But Qovery helps me on the first part, like managing the instances, deployments, how I can update my services and stuff. Then I can focus on the observability part, on fixing stuff, and the business value is really what we, as engineers and as a company, are focusing on. We don't need the plumbing anymore, and
Yeah.
that's a massive.
Okay, I understand your point. So yeah, you focus your job on the what is the true value for your company, the application, the service quality, observability, also your process, your security process. But how are you able to maintain the high velocity of the innovation while ensuring that you are rigorous in terms of compliance and safety standards in your industry?
So that's an excellent question, because there's really close to no AI native health tech companies these days. They're all discovering what's going on, right? Even if I'm taking the US market, um, it's differently regulated, but it's still regulated. And so the way we're trying to approach it is really, let's do the best right now. It's not just best default, it's let's do the best that we can to do it. So it means we need to adjust. So I'm just going to step back a little bit and say, we would like, we're aiming to be this kind of company where we want to be like 500 actually, but only by being 50 actual people. So that means we need to scale ourselves. We need to scale the way we do things across the board. So we've been adopting AI massively. It's not just using AI, we're actually, using agents across the board, developing them. We have stuff like working at night, but then it's impacting velocity, obviously, as you mentioned. And so the way we're trying to approach this is kind of changing the paradigm about this. Instead of saying, oh, I need to review this because it's easy, or because it's a huge code suggestion or change, we're trying to be smart. So because we can use AI, we can, I would say, specialize agents for security, for platform stuff, for really like code itself. And so we're being challenged by specialized agents. We have agents auto-approving PRs, so it helps like with velocity. And we'll kind of change the paradigm, because instead of reviewing massive PRs or very small PRs, we're kind of checking if the intent is good, like the business development, or sorry, the business logic is good. And then we're estimating the blast radius. So by changing this, we'll for now hoping, because we're experimenting, but we're hoping to increase velocity, because the bottleneck is really the review right now. Like we're shipping hundreds, like, and I'm not inflating the number of like shipping hundreds of pull requests every week by being a team of 5 to 10, depending on the app or the domain. And so we have automated pull requests. We have like a bunch of stuff happening. And so reviews are, and also were and are, still a bottleneck, but we're adopting this AI mentality fully, so we can basically avoid a massive blast radius when it goes to production.
Okay. So do you today keep a human in the AI loop, the development process that is mainly AI based, to keep trust and yes, some human guardrails in your development, or is it in kind of AI YOLO mode and you let it develop everything and
No, absolutely. And so for the people who know me, they know I'm a pretty massive defender about having a human in the loop, at least for now, because models are getting smarter, but they're not bulletproof yet. There's a word we use in French which is dinguerie, and agents just hallucinate a lot. They're literally improvising a lot sometimes. And so the way we're approaching it is we're being data driven. What I mean by that is lately we've been analyzing the past 300 PRs and getting the signals about when the human is actually required to approve a PR and for what. So we're kind of getting this data to improve the way we're going to do AI reviews. The goal being for impactful or risky changes, there will be a human in the loop. Otherwise, the agents can just approve it. And so it's going to be uh, proof based, it's going to be evidence based, it's going to be signal and data based. But that's the way we're approaching it. And so, yeah, to do that is like sometimes for example, I'm just changing, let's say, translations. That's an easy change. It could break something still because it can break the experience sometimes or bring a wrong message to the user. But that's the reason we have some agents to do this. And so that's kind of the workflow we're adopting and improving. So it's not perfect, uh, but we have the right tools now to do it. And now it's more about tweaking it to the point where we don't even need human in the loop. So it's going to be, all on the long run. But yeah, it goes back to speaking correctly. So taking the time to plan something that you want to do and not going vibe coding all the way. So planning first, we spend probably 60% of the time planning everything. Then we implement, and then we have this AI review that's going to be improving. And so we're hoping it will catch most of the issues.
Okay. Okay. And do we handle also kind of integration test, or do you stay on the traditional CI/CD with integrated with yes integration test, classical integration test?
Yeah, excellent question. So right now, like the code lines are cheap. Yeah, basically like code is cheap. What I mean by that is any model can generate tests. Now, whether they're actually good or not it differs depending on the model. But that's the first part. So we've been like tests, regression tests, all this stuff is fully automated. We don't even write a single test anymore. And we're making sure that when tests are being written, it's actually pragmatic. So we've been spending some time at it, back in the days to check that the tests were good. So that's the first part. The second part is about integration testing. Then we test the features on themselves. So we kind of reproduce a way like we get a blood work results. So it's like biology results. We get it. Then, for example, let's say we have like a parser. That's the second step. We make sure this is not breaking. So we're kind of improving this part as well. The third part is end-to-end test. Um, I'm not gonna lie, it's genuinely not perfect today. It's flaky, it's not working the way we intend it to be. Um, but because the way it was done, so it was really so using Playwright for those who know, it's the common tool to do this. And so for the past few months, we've been developing some end-to-end tests that are running every day. And so then we know if it's working or breaking stuff. It's flaky and it's not working well. So we're trying to see, is there a world where we could actually use AI tests or AI managed tests? And there is a bunch of companies doing that today. So we're literally experimenting with two at a time. And the goal is to not only generate some, so playwright tests using those, but also keeping track of them and improving and identifying the gaps. The goal is really to test the whole experience because we won't be able to test health data per se at first, but we can test the whole flows. How can I pay? How can I make sure that when I access my dashboard, assuming I have some results, I see the right thing and there's no hallucination. So I'm saying once per day, but then once we're comfortable with that, we're going to move to a different CI/CD system. So we need to talk about features with Qovery. But joke aside, it's more about how can we have this environment promotion properly done on our side, so we can say, yeah, we deploy to staging, we run all the tests for every single pull request, and then we move on. The goal is to select the tests we do run also because we're also spending some time checking all the studies and work being done across the board.
Yeah, using all that AI needs some data. So how do you, while scaling, how do you keep the patient data strictly localized? Because yeah, the rules are not the same in Europe, in France, in UK, in US. How do you get that localization?
Oh, I could tell you about that. Well, literally speaking, with other countries, and the health format is different. The logistic, like the operations, are different. It's not a nightmare yet, but it's for sure a scary way to do it. And so the way we're approaching this is, so at first we want to be HDS compliant. So that's the main audit we're working on right now. And by being HDS compliant, it means that everything that we do should be compliant, so should follow the rules. It's never going to be bulletproof because it's up to the. I consider a good auditor to be actually how can I say that properly? Very annoying, but it's also a good way to say, well, checking that you do the right thing across the board. So we've been through the audits. We're still going through the audits, but it forces us to do the right thing today. And so by that, it means all of the data that we have is localized in the Paris region. We do have some tooling not connected to that exactly, but like in other regions, but it's still in Europe. It's still on EU soil, and so it's HDS compliant. So the companies we're working with, if they're like HDS compliant, then that's easy, because if they need access to data, if they need, or if they have technical access to data, then we can work with them. I wouldn't say blindly, but kind of. And so that's the approach we're kind of taking, forcing ourselves to be compliant, forcing ourselves to use tooling that's compliant. And so we need to simplify. That people always hear me in the office saying, like, let's simplify, let's normalize, let's unify what we can, because that's a way to reduce the noise and make sure we can control what we have with a small team still. So that's kind of the gist of it.
Okay, okay. Yes, but at some point, I think that process alone is not enough. Tooling starts shaping the way your team work, your team operates. But before talking about tooling, what was becoming the most painful in your infrastructure before you starting to scale?
That's a good question. So I guess from a code perspective, because AI, code has to be maintained, code has to be understood. And so if you don't put the right harness in place, then things are going to go wild. So first step was to actually take a step back and peel the onion, if I can put it this way, to say, okay, now we're going back to having like a proper foundations, so we can build on top of it. And so to do that, we've been digging into the app, into the monolith that we have. And so kind of transforming the way it was working, upgrading the tooling, changing the tooling if it needs to be changed, and then splitting stuff around, killing some tooling, kind of normalizing, so kind of reshaping the whole thing. That was step one. Then from an infra perspective, I guess a way to look at it is, because we didn't have all the audits in place, because we didn't have all the knowledge at first, we needed to think wide and say, assuming AI can help us scale, 100x, not just 10x, but like 100x, how can we do this? And so we've been taking a step back, thinking for some time and speccing, and then say, so that's the way we're going to approach it. We're going to introduce this tool and then rework this way, close the regions. So really embrace the best practices from the cloud perspective, from a Qovery perspective, saying we split, by project, services, blah, blah, blah. Having like dynamic credentials, never using static credentials, zero trust all the way. And so by approaching this, with this approach in mind, we've been able to tackle some of the pain points. Security-wise, again, AI is hallucinating a lot, and so we have to be very careful about what's being shipped to production, especially because at first it was very simple. We get biology results, we use AI, it does stuff, and that's it. Now we're integrating with partners, and us with them with us, and so it's kind of changing the whole deal. If they get a leak, or if they get if someone enters, their infrastructure, they can get back to us in some way. So we need to control the data that's going in and out. And so we're being very careful about this. We have guidelines, we have agents to do this. So we're really putting like this concept of harness. And so for those who don't know, I'm really encouraging to look at Gary Tan, the Y Combinator CEO, president, because he's really defining this kind of concept about harness and resolver pretty well. It's how we can contain what we do from an AI perspective, and then how we can reflect it. So now, putting that aside, the main issue was really how we were going to scale using AI, because we've been shipping a lot, we've been getting more data, more trust, and so again, we don't want to be tech bros. So I'm not sure there was a real security wall at first. We're not like a Facebook business. Growth has been great, but it's not Facebook, so it's kind of different. But we're facing the world right now. For example, if you were to become a medical device, it brings a whole lot of problems on top of allowing us to do stuff. But yeah, expansion is going to be key, and so the way we expand is also going to bring a lot of problems, security-wise, interconnections, and then leaks, obviously.
Yeah, story of the moment with the AI things,
Yep.
where we see a lot of data leaks and CI/CD poisoning currently and things like that. Getting back to your infrastructure, so your part of the infrastructure is working on a vanilla Kubernetes. That's you are on AKS on AWS. You choose to use Qovery to manage that cluster. What was the reason for that choice? Why do you use Qovery? Why you use AKS, managed services? And how do you avoid any vendor locking using with those choice?
Yeah, good question. Well, I guess for the vendor looking, answering the vendor looking question is gonna answer the rest and the remaining of the questions. But by being on Kubernetes, we don't need to think about, we're on AWS with ECS. We are on Google and Cloud Run or whatever. It's one platform. We'll build it. We build services in one way using Docker/containerd, doesn't matter. And we know we can deploy it on EKS and then on GKE or AKS or whatever. So that was one of the reasons to also adopt Kubernetes. So that's the reason we've been normalizing all the tooling around EKS, around Kubernetes at first. And then there was as everyone knows, when you start doing Kubernetes, there's how do you deploy services? Do you use Helm charts? Do you use something else? And we didn't want to kind of have this pain point on our end. And so Qovery was a natural choice. So it was the one I was using at my previous company. It was already used here when I joined. And so we've been capitalizing on this, kind of reworking how we're building and deploying, and then making things even better. So I would say Kubernetes at first drove how we do, why we do Qovery, and then that's a way for us to be cloud agnostic, because now we know if we need to go on GCP or hopefully never on my end Azure, we know we can just create a cluster and then Qovery can manage it basically. So that's a way to approach it. Scale, reliability is achieved through that because we don't do it. And it's also I would say a great way for developers to not care about how do I deploy my service. Do I need to do my Helm deployment myself? Do I need to have like a CI/CD? Do I need to use Terraform? And by experience, it's a pain in the I won't say the word, but it's a pain in this one to actually do deployments when it's not automated and you don't have the right tooling to do it. And so, to be genuinely honest, Qovery does abstract this quite well for us. It can build on demand. It was the case for many months. Then we switched to a container-based approach because it fits our needs better. And so now people just have this UI. They connect to it. They can say deploy if they want to, if it's manual, or we just figure it like from a CI/CD perspective using GitHub Actions on our end, and it's just working. Then we get all the niceties like notifications on Slack through webhooks. We need to get sometimes audits to know who did what and how. And so that's baked in. And so from a compliance perspective, it's also helping because I can easily tell, now using the MCP, give me the list of users. I need to see who gets access to what. And so if someone is admin, so why is this person admin? And so I can make reviews on my infrastructure using my agents and workflows pretty easily. And so, yeah, Qovery felt like a natural choice at first before I joined. And it still feels like the right choice today. So we don't intend to ditch it anytime soon, but actually, yeah, capitalize on it.
Okay. Do you think that Qovery and all the automation stuff you put in place has changed your team size or your hiring priorities?
Um, I'm not sure about Qovery. I would say AI for sure. For Qovery, it's hard to say because we don't measure anything on Qovery from a human or like team perspective. We just know the way we kind of measure it is like if we get frustrated with the tool, maybe it's not the right tooling or we don't do the right thing, and so we kind of approach it this way. Now, when it comes to, I just like Qovery is simplifying the work that we have to do today or the work that we don't have to do today when it comes to deploying and stuff. So there's that, and then the second part is I think yeah, AI is definitely changing the way we approach hiring. Um, there's many LinkedIn posts and influencers speaking way better than I do about this, but uh, we need more seniors that we need juniors at first, but we need more juniors at some point because they have this will and this energy that seniors lack over time. And so it's kind of a balance. We we absolutely want to become this company that's 500 folks, but only by being 50 human.
Mm.
So we're kind of embracing this philosophy and making hiring choices accordingly. So we're going to get more seniors at first and then more juniors or mid-levels. But yeah, it's changing the way. Like right now, to also bring this argument on the table, but all of the business units that we have at Lucy are actually embracing AI. So the marketing team, the ops team, the sales team, like whoever that is, everyone is embracing AI, and we're already seeing the results. So we don't need that many people that we could be having, and you can feel it already. It's already visible, and it's only going to become more visible over time. So that means two things. We don't want people to burn out because then if they leave, we get a massive gap because it's the equivalent of 10 people or more. And so there's a balance that we need to find, but I don't think anyone has found it just yet. So yeah, playing with it.
Interesting. But with all those automation, those AI, do you think it reduced the operational load of the different team, or do you think it move engineers on higher value work?
So
Maybe
can you
both.
say that
Could
again?
be both. I wanted to explore how AI and all the automation you have put in place, if this reduce the operational load of the team, or if it simply move the engineers on the higher value work.
I would love to say it's been improving everything, but the truth is, at first it's bad. I mean, it's worse because you don't find the right processes. Things are changing. Sure, it's easier because you get more work done, but then there's the review bottleneck, as we mentioned. And so, how do you approach it? Do you get more people to review it? How do you manage on call because then you get more errors in production and stuff? And it's kind of linear. The more work you put in production, the more issues you're gonna get because things are not perfect. And I would say definitely not perfect. So there's a balance to find. It was bad, and literally as I speak, we're having, I would say, processes issues, as in how do we automate perhaps the work that we do better, so product management, so that it's not becoming a massive issue. So we can be on, like basically we can be on many topics at the same time. We can be on many projects, assuming one is blocked, and we can switch to something else. But the way we approach it is we kind of always take a step back as a team, as a company, to find the right pace, the right solution. So we've been increasing productivity. We've been increasing the volume of features shipped and projects shipped, we're now able, like we have agents actually fixing errors in production without any human in the loop. So they are taking the issue, fixing it, and releasing it. So it's slowly shifting towards a world where we can actually deliver more value. Now to your second point about the value itself, like writing tests has no value for any engineers anymore. Like unless it's a complex task, project, or feature, there is no value to do it. And so it generally allows us to focus on what's really important. And so that's the business value. And so the way we actually develop and review contributions is typically oriented now, or specialized. So we don't really care about whether this is the right coding guideline anymore, all the nitpicks that we used to have in the past, because agents are doing it for ourselves. So now we're like, is the intent right? Is this change actually doing what we intended to be? And if so, then we merge and we put it and it's shipped. So yeah, I would say it's definitely changing our gear or focus towards a more business value and higher value for sure.
Okay, so no more fight to choose the right framework. You let the AI do it for you. I'm talking
Yeah,
all
exactly.
the historical fight of Next, Vue.js, React, and so.
Yeah, exactly. And so if we take a step back and think outside the box, I would say today, because we have MCPs, because we have skills, changing models is literally very easy. So assuming you have the right tooling in place, kind of changing the model, the tool, the infrastructure is just easy. In some cases, it's not going to be, obviously, but like we can focus on the business value, and tools are just a mean to achieve it.
Okay, thanks. And yeah, time is running, unfortunately. Just one last question for tech lead people that are currently watching us. What could be your advice to give them for the year that is coming on the new AI era?
Honestly, the sooner you embrace AI, the better it's going to be. And the reason I'm saying that is not just for saying be more productive, but if you don't grasp the context or the concepts today, it's going to be even harder over time. Without talking about mythos and all these speculation, things are coming in one way or the other, and so the landscape is really shaping towards something different. So as engineers, I would say we need to embrace AI. Otherwise, we're going to be replaced in some ways, not fully, but like in some ways. So we need to adjust. As CTOs, CISOs, CEOs, whatever that is, you can save time by adopting AI, by adopting routines, agents, or whatever. I'm not saying go full on OpenClaw and all this stuff. I don't personally do it, but I do have agents. So it's a same thing, but differently, not just OpenClaw. But yeah, my advice is adopt AI because it's not going to go anywhere anytime soon. And the sooner you do it, the better it's going to be because you might have a competing company in front of you that's actually going to use AI and it's going to eat you on the long run. So there's a way to do it, obviously. I don't think anyone has cracked the code, but it's adopt it. You're going to fail, you're going to have issues, but yeah, try to get the harness right. And yeah, do it.
Thanks, Gauthier. And we at Qovery have solution to run those AI agents in the safe way. So we can discuss about that in another webinar. But now I think it's time to let the chat have. If you have some question, feel free to drop them in the chat, and we will reply on them. Yeah, one question from Melanie. If you had to start Lucis again, with today's tooling, what will be what you will build differently?
That's an excellent question. I guess the first thing I would say is, assuming I'm a new company, I would try really to go all in, meaning because it's new, because you need to do much, you don't need to prove yourself yet. Like start with like an OpenClaw approach. Basically, you have your product in mind, spec it, take really the time to spec things and to put like this harness at first. use one agent to get all the coding guidelines, use one agent to do, to get the best practices around, and then you just start. And by kind of adopting this, you're gonna go really, really fast. Now, I would still do, like, assuming it's Lucy again, I would still say be a zero trust. So keep your principles in mind, but absolutely be AI native, because trying to go the old way, you're gonna, yeah, you're gonna have setbacks. Like there's no way around it. So I would say, yeah, adopt AI day one or even day zero. Um, get all the concepts, take the time to research, and then like push the button and all in.
For joining us today. I hope that discussion gave you a concrete view of what is building a regulated infrastructure. Huge thanks to Gauthier for sharing your experience. If there is any additional question, you want to continue the discussion around platform engineering, feel free to reach out on LinkedIn or any social media. You have our link you have our name. And thanks again, and have a nice one.
Yeah, thank you, folks.
Yeah, bye bye.